Hi, everyone. My name is McKenna Erickson, and I am currently an undergraduate student at the University of Wisconsin River Falls, studying elementary education with a minor in English language arts. I'm currently in the student teaching aspect of my program at the School District of Spring Valley. So today I'm going to talk to you about important women of the Middle Ages. First, let's start with why. Why women of the Middle Ages? Well, it's usually a time period that's brushed over and not discussed. At the elementary level, you usually don't talk about the Middle Ages, but at the middle school and high school level, it's talked about, but again, it's not really gone in much depth about what happened during that time period. Again, my other reason for this is history emphasizes more about men than women. It talks about how men are heroic, the great men that were heroes during their time, but where are the women? Women had accomplishments too during this time, and we will get more into that later. Also, young children's misconception of princesses. There is the misconception that princesses are dainty and frail, and so I want to make sure through this lesson that students understand that princesses could actually be heroines and warriors too. Again, some of the world's greatest warriors were women, and to focus on that and to share that with students younger and older is pretty impressive, that they weren't just these princesses tied up in a castle. They actually went and fought for what they believed in and for their country. So 3 women that I focus on are Joan of Arc, Eleanor of Aquitaine, and Isabella Castile. So let's start with Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc is known as a French national hero. So she saved the French from the English. She got a message from God in a dream that she should go into battle and fight. And she ended up doing that, and she ended up saving the country of France from the English. Pretty impressive. Next was Eleanor of Aquitaine. So she was the queen consort of France and then of England. She was one of the most wealthiest and most powerful women in Europe during the Middle Age period. She also helped yes, so she was also one of the most wealthiest women. Isabella Castile. So she was never supposed to be queen. She ended up disobeying her older brother, the king. She was actually supposed to be last in line, and her father didn't see her as she was illegitimate, is what it seemed. But she ended up going against her brother and ended up fighting him in battle and won, and that is how she became queen. Next is the pedagogy that I want to focus on. So let's go to vocabulary and academic language. First, what I do is I do motor and imagery with the students. So for the intermediate grades, students can create their own action that go along with the vocabulary word. So this would be like a whole group. So all the students and everybody decide, whole class makes a decision on what word or what action goes best with the vocabulary word. A modification to this would be for the beginning grades. The teacher can create the action for this. That way you aren't getting a bunch of different actions that might be confusing and stuff like that. So that helps. The other one that I use is think, pair, share. So in my unit, I have a quote called "Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them" by William Shakespeare. As 4th graders, which is what this curriculum and unit was based for, it's really hard for 4th graders to decipher a quote, especially from William Shakespeare, but I want to challenge them. And then on top of that, I give them the opportunity to think about it to themselves, to pair up with a partner, and then go around the class and have each pair share what they think the quote means, which I think is a really good that they get to hear other interpretations and what their classmates think. So next for pedagogy is the formative assessments that I use. So I do a historian journal. Students will keep a journal throughout the unit. So in this journal, they can write the vocabulary words and their definitions. That would be like required. However, the journal may include thoughts, opinions, and any interesting points or facts that they find within the readings. So each lesson contains students reading a National Geographic article, usually in groups. And that actually ties in with the next one, the jigsaw activity. But they read this, and anything that they find interesting or like their opinions or feelings, they can include that into their journal as well. And throughout the lesson, they are referred to as historians. So next, the jigsaw activity. So you break students into groups, and then each group becomes their expert historians. So with the article, there's different headings within the article, and each group is assigned a specific heading that they're going to become experts in to teach the class about. The other activity I have is the modified four corners. I really think this is enjoyable and it's engaging because students are moving around the classroom. So for this, I do a princess activity. I have different princesses like Cinderella, Ariel, Jasmine, Beauty and the Beast, so Belle, and I have these pictures, and students either decide if they want to go to the princess side of the room or if they go to the warrior side of the room. And already knowing this, I can already tell the predetermined schema with this that they're all going to go to the princess side. However, when I show a picture of Eleanor of Aquitaine, students are immediately torn. And so they don't know whether to go if she's a princess or if she is a warrior. And actually, it's kind of a trick question because she's both. She was both a princess, but she was also a warrior who fought for what she believed in. And so it just kind of shows the difference between what a person would look like and what one in real life looks like. Again, my next formative assessment that I have, the last one, is the modified storyboard. So in groups, they'll create a poster summarizing their expert section on what they do, and they're only allowed to include 12 words in that poster. They can talk and present it, but they have to use pictures to summarize what they have, what they took away from that reading or that section that they were in charge of. And they're only allowed to use 12 words. So it's a challenge, but it's also interesting to see what they come up with. So for summative assessments, after every lesson, I do an exit slip because I want to see what students enjoyed, their engagement, their comprehension on the lessons and reading. And then also it's for me to use if there's anything I need to touch on the next day to help advance that comprehension skills for the students to make sure that they did understand what the lesson was on and what they read about and what they learned about that day. My next one is the first person essay. So I have different different prompts for the students relating to each of the three women, and then they choose one of the prompts that includes one of the women, and then they respond to it as if they were that heroine. And so they're going to take the form of either Joan of Arc, Isabella Castile, or Eleanor of Aquitaine. The last one is also my favorite one. I like when students are interactive and involved, and especially moving around the classroom and not just sitting in a desk and having things presented to them. So in this case, they would create a skit based off of the information that was presented. I would have pre-assigned groups with the pre-assigned sections, usually talking about the highlight points and sections based off of that woman's life. And then students get to create their own their own skit and what they want to say. So they get to decide what they want to say and talk about, and usually kind of direct them in the way to incorporate the highlights and the important information that they want their classmates to take away from that section that they were assigned to. So thank you for listening, and I hope you really enjoyed this. Feel free to contact me with any questions or comments regarding this presentation at Kenna32Erickson@gmail.com. Thank you so much.